Hello, everyone. This is Rick, and welcome to Astral Club. This is Astral Clearing Your Haunted House. Before we get into it, just want to mention Patreon. If you'd like to support this channel on Patreon, you can do so. You get advanced episodes when you join on Sunday, a library of download episodes for your podcast app, a Patreon email where we can talk back and forth, and we also have a chat room where you can send me a direct message or you can get involved in chatting. If you're interested, there is a link in the description. Next up, private lessons to Astral Project. If you'd like to learn to Astral Project or have your questions answered, be glad to work with you. All you have to do is go to the description. You'll find an email there. Just send me an email requesting more information on Astral Projection lessons. Okay. Astral clearing your haunted house. I have talked in the past about ways that you can deal with unwanted spirits in your home or in other places using a variety of physical methods. Burning incense, using a variety of holy passages from your light-oriented holy book, playing Gregorian music throughout the day, burning sage, which is a Native American custom to clear an area. All of these things can be of help in dispelling unwanted spiritual energy in your house. However, for those who can astral project, there is another layer of efforts that you can undertake to help clear your haunted house. Now, let me state right now that 99.9% of the hauntings out there are from passed on human spirits. And that's something any reasonably intelligent and stable individual with the proper information can take on. If you find that you're under attack and there's like 3 claw marks on your skin when you wake up in the morning, that's a demonic situation, and you don't want to dabble with that unassisted, unprepared. Believe me, that would be a very, very bad thing to do. But luckily, those are extraordinarily rare. Normally, we're talking about disincarnated human spirits. I'm going to take a section here out of one of my favorite books, The Projection of the Astral Body by Sylvan Muldoon. He says, phantoms of the dead are often dominated by the stress or desire or habit. When he uses the word stress, he doesn't use it in the common way we do nowadays. He used it more as a force which acts upon your desire or your habits. He says, one of the reasons for haunted houses or haunted localities is that these are phantoms of the dead who have a desire or a habit so strongly embedded within them that they will continue steadfastly in their habits and conduct, even after becoming conscious, simply because the stress or habit is there, and they must work it off. Imagine when you're full of the conventional word stress. How do you work it off? Well, you do a lot of exercises. You burn off that energy. It's very much the same thing for these disincarnated spirits. Now, this stress or desire or habit often comes to the surface when an entity passes on. Now, there may be many cases where the entity passes on and is in an unconscious or semi-conscious state. That's not unusual at all for the average individual who passes over, because it happens so seamlessly, and they may have been in an altered conscious state when it happened, that they continue in that altered state, going through a certain dream world of their own creation, where their habits, their stresses, are causing them to walk through this reality, which ends up impacting upon you in certain ways. I remember one story of this couple who moved into a house, and they were not into spiritual things. They didn't believe in ghosts or anything like that. But they ended up moving out because between the hours of 4 and 5 in the morning, a particular rocking chair would rock back and forth. And what was eventually discovered is that the old woman who had lived and died in that house had a habit of reading the Bible while she was in a rocking chair between the hours of 4 and 5 in the morning. And apparently her spirit was still going through those particular emotions because it had become such an ingrained habit. Now, some folks might say, as habits go, that's a more positive one. When we often refer to habits, many times we automatically go to the negative. Oh, you've got a bad habit of smoking, for instance, or a bad habit of drinking. But habits are habits. They can be what we consider positive. They can be what we consider negative. But the person involved imprints on them while alive. And so when they pass over, the average spirit, especially one that's not psychically attuned, one that hasn't projected, one that really isn't spiritually aware, can easily fall into those habits for a period of time. Now, how do we deal with those lost spirits? The first thing you have to do is get their attention. It's not as easy as you might think it is. If they're going through their dream world, motions, you could stand right in their path and they'll walk right through you like they don't even see you. That's happened to me numerous times before. You must wake them up. They must become conscious before you can help them to move on. One thing that definitely helps is if you have their name. Names are very powerful. If you have their name, you can use that to get their attention, to wake them up. That is by far the easiest way to make that happen. If you don't have their name, then you have to get creative. You might want to wave your arms back and forth. Try to surround them, move around them. Do whatever you have to do to try to get their attention. It may take time too. Sometimes just keep on trying to communicate. Keep on trying to, project thoughts their way. Eventually, they should start coming out of it. Eventually, they should start looking at you for at least a brief period of time. Eventually, when you get them out of it and they do become aware, they're going to be confused and they may be frightened. That's not unusual. At that point in time, you want to reassure them that everything's fine, everything's okay, they're okay. It's just they've gone through a change and you're there to help them move on. When you get them to a point where they're emotionally stable and they're willing to listen to you, that's the time you start gently educating them to the fact of reality that they have passed on and that it's now time to leave behind the old and seek out the new. The old comfortable environs, especially if they were an introvert, it makes it a little bit harder to get them out. But try to find out, try to discover from them what they liked in life or Or, were they the type of person who liked hiking or liked exploring? Or if they were an introvert and they were a reader, maybe talk to them about, some of the libraries that exist throughout the world. Or the Astral Library. Tell them about the records. That can get their attention as well, if that's the kind of individual they are. The main thing is you have to start, once they're aware, talking them out of this pattern that they have set up for themselves. Let them know that there's no pressure. If they want to continue this for a little bit longer, it's fine. But, that don't they want to move on to something new, something different, rather than, going around the same old place over and over again? Try to get them to understand that there's so much more out there that they can take at their own speed. And all they have to do is request help to quiet their minds and actively request aid. That's the best way to get things going. Because after all, you're an astral projector. Your time is limited. And you may have already used a number of astral projections to get this far. So you're going to need some outside help. If you can get them to do that, help will arrive and they'll have a guide to go on to their next adventure. The main thing is don't come off hostile. Don't come off as pushy. Because if you do, you can end up with one of these entities digging their heels in. And that's not something you want to do. You want to make sure they understand that they can take it at their own pace. Okay, well, that is just a brief episode here on how you can deal with clearing your haunted house from the astral. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please hit the like button. Share it with those of like minds. Subscribe if you haven't already. Questions and comments. Have you ever had a house that you believed was haunted? Let me know what happened. Let me know what you did. At any rate, this is Rick, and I will see you on the astral plane.